Welcome back to Cape Critiquers, everybody. Today we are talking about the long-awaited Spider-Man Brand New Day.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Off the bat,
Spidey.
what do we think?
I loved it.
I loved it.
Incredible.
Yeah.
This is
really,
definitely the ultimate
good
Spider-Man
movie.
Yeah, this was really good. I mean, acting, action, storyline, I liked it all. And I mean, it was the twists and turns in the storyline were actually engaging as well.
Yeah.
They did their character homework also.
Oh, no doubt.
Each one of the characters, you know, the prominent characters were played perfectly.
And I liked even some of the stuff that brought me back to like the old Spider-Man cartoon with like the little campy comments and stuff like that. I really liked that. It brought me back to that when I used to watch with AJ, those Spider-Man cartoons.
The chemistry between Frank and Spidey was amazing.
Yeah.
I was laughing at it every time they were on scene together.
That's when I think those guys are actually
Best friends.
friends.
Actually,
You know,
they
you get that. I said before between Xavier and Magneto because those guys they hang out with each other, so it's a lot easier for dialogue.
and the other, again, it's cool because they again filmed each other's audition tapes for their characters.
Are you blushing, Daffodil?
It's funny that there is just like at least two dynamics in this movie where it's like Tom Holland and somebody else that have real life chemistry like that that you kind of get to see on screen between him and John Bernthal and him and Zendaya.
Yeah. So I thought with Zendaya and him, I thought it was going to be a little bit too much. Zendaya?
It's Zendaya.
Thank you. I thought it was going to be too much with them, but it actually worked out. It was really good.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I know that we talk about a lot like, oh, Marvel did this thing and they like wrote themselves into a corner, and it's like the way that they went about explaining it's kind of convoluted and this and that, but they kind of just give it to you straightforward in like this, that yes, the spell worked, but at some point either I guess he has to rebuild those connections, or in the case of Ned, maybe they just the power of friendship is so strong that it outdoes the spells of Doctor Strange.
I don't think so. I think he very much I think he just remembered the handshake just because like I guess that was the thing he did. That's the thing he remembers.
Yeah,
but I don't think he remembered. I think he just remembered that his name is Peter.
Yeah,
they set that up.
Yeah.
Or see, I was thinking that when he did all that, something did snap a little bit, and she called Spider-Man Peter.
That's what I was
But he
thinking.
didn't see the face, and then that's what snapped.
That's what I'm saying.
good
You're
call.
Yeah, that's
Peter.
what I
You're
was
Spider-Man.
thinking.
Like something happened there.
Yeah,
Because again, here MJ said his name is Peter. It's Peter. This guy's Peter.
That's the way I took
there
it.
it is.
That's
Yeah,
what I'm saying.
I don't know how I didn't catch on to that, but yes.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right.
The handshake definitely was. He was like weirded out by it, but the second he said name's
Yeah.
Peter, he's like, "Oh shit!"
I really liked Ned in this too. I mean, he was pretty cool in this. You know?
Speaking of remembering, there is kind of the scene from the comics where the Hulk remembers who Spider-Man is, and they did it in
a different way.
a different way that's less fan servicey. But I'm kind of happy that they showed it instead of telling you.
Yeah.
And then they gave you that moment where you thought that he was going to turn into Banner in the fall and splat
and die.
and splat. But of course he didn't.
But what? Even if Banner dies,
Yeah.
he still regenerates back to the Hulk.
Yeah.
I mean, he tried.
Yeah,
committing
he's tried. That's right. He's
suicide
tried.
and-
Yeah, that's true.
So
That's true. Hey, Sadie Sink actually did a pretty good
As Jean Grey.
Jean Grey, I have to say.
Yeah, we
That-
better get used to her because she's gonna be around for a while.
I feel like that hair was very like stylish. Like,
Yeah.
you could tell.
Oh, yeah,
that's
no
just
doubt.
not-
But I kind of liked it. It worked.
So as a movie in whole, story-wise, good, bad.
No, I was
certainly.
happy.
Again,
Great.
a lot of stuff going on,
Yep.
but the central line stayed true from
Yeah.
beginning to end.
Yeah, and all characters stayed as characters. Well,
And-
we did say Frank Cry a little bit, but still.
It's a really good Spider-Man story that also feels like a Spider-Man comic where you have other characters from other, I guess, like franchises may or may not be the right word, but just like other sectors of the Marvel universe that don't even feel like cameos necessarily. Like they all kind of feel like they're actually serving the purpose of the story in
Correct.
some way or another.
Yep.
The only one that I might question is Yelena,
Yeah.
Right.
but then she does come back and is kind of helping out with exposing the Department of Damage Control's
Yeah, correct.
actual
With the NYPD
plans and stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't, because like it is weird. Like, why does she have her own office if she's like a part of the New Avengers? I don't know.
Yeah.
That felt
I
a
think
little
it's
bit
just
weird.
like kind of a joke that she doesn't really.
Yeah, I mean,
She
she's
goes,
in a bathhouse.
I know, but like my point is like, why is she even doing that? Like, as a, like, why is she doing a thing where she connects to people like that on like her own?
How?
Still, you know?
That was my only question: is how does he actually know her?
Yeah.
I kind of am fine with it though, because it's just like one of those things from the comics where it's like fucking Spider-Man just randomly calls up whoever the fuck it is.
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
like you just believe that he
Yeah, I
knows
mean,
them 'cause
we
they're
didn't
in New
even see
York.
the beginning of the relationship between him and Frank for real.
True.
Yeah,
So,
true. Yeah,
and
Staten
there's
Island.
an
What happened to
establishment
Staten
there.
Island?
Yeah.
Exactly. So there's an
I feel like
establishment
that's a lot
there.
more believable than him like talking to an Avenger.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
they're in New York. He's Spider-Man, for God's sakes.
And the thing with like Staten Island, they are pulling a bit of like the Hawkeye and Black Widow thing, where it's like that big mission that they
Right,
went on.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
But I feel like it works so much better
Yeah. Oh, God.
here between Frank and Spider-Man, just because their chemistry like carries it so well.
Yeah.
Whereas like Hawkeye and Black Widow, it's just like two people reading lines.
Yeah.
I enjoyed even the chemistry between Yelena, Jesus, and Spidey. They made it work. It was smooth because again, it's from what it seems like they've been talking for a while now. Because
Yeah.
again, she even calls him the Sad Man.
Mm-hmm.
So
Because
they made it
both
work.
characters are
it
super
works where
cool.
it is.
That's my thing.
Yeah,
they have a very calm, cool rapport. A little bit of joking, a little bit of this.
Yeah,
and
even like that scene with the friends in the back, and she's like, "Oh my God, he actually has friends.
Yeah.
The Sad Man has friends."
I agree with Jack. I think it works for what it is. I would say that their first meeting in this movie does drag on a little bit,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
not enough to
yeah,
where I'd
actually,
be
I enjoyed it.
upset
I
with
thought it was
Yeah,
funny.
it didn't bother me.
I
too
searched up like times to pee during Spider-Man Brand New Day, and that was one of the moments, the scene. So yeah, but I think my issue is that just like internally, like it's a fine scene, but it's just like externally, like how, like why is she doing this? How do these people know each other really?
Yeah.
Move your mic a little closer.
There you go.
So, what'd you think of his evolution?
Yeah, that's an interesting little wrench just kind of throw into the middle of this whole thing. I know people were speculating he would go full man spider or even it being like a symbiote related thing, but it is significantly simpler than that.
Yes.
It kind of is like a symbiote type thing where it's like it's not symbiote, but it's like they're kind of doing a twist on Spider-Man 3 where he's Bully Maguire a bit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I actually like it because the Bully Maguire thing. I like it because it does kind of just throw this interesting twist onto things where he has to also like figure out how to kind of grow up as a person outside of being Spider-Man. Like I think it ties really nicely into all of that stuff.
Yeah.
What?
I'm gonna throw dirt in your eye. Speaking of dirt in his eye, like even like that, like I feel like the eyes.
Yeah.
I don't like it's just very reminiscent of just like.
I mean, he
that whole
literally
moment, it's
just
just
was becoming a spider.
If only he did the dance. Just
That movie should not have been made.
Yeah.
But actually, I like that he's getting like, is he like, is this like a spider puberty type of thing?
Kind of.
I guess.
Yeah.
He's becoming an adult
Spider.
spider.
But it's cool, especially the fight with the hand, where and when Jean asks him, "Do you want to be Peter or do you want to be Spider-Man?" and he says both.
Yeah.
That was awesome when he shatters the whatever baton or sword it was.
Yeah.
He's got hardening skin. He's got enhanced webbing. It's sick.
Yeah, I did not expect.
And his strength level's got to be.
This is definitely, we're getting to the Spider-Man that like people talk about where it's like Spider-Man's actually one of the strongest heroes.
This is it.
And he heard that shot from like a mile away or
mile.
I
something.
actually heard the clicking
Yeah.
of the.
Yep.
Yeah. It's cool to finally get like a fully comic accurate Spider-Man that just is not really held down by the weight of like Avengers stuff. I'm sure we'll see him in fucking Secret Wars though,
Yeah,
but
they dropped that. Yeah.
or I don't know if it was supposed to be like Spider-Verse stuff or Secret Wars stuff, who knows. But yeah, it's nice to just finally have like an evolved, no longer training wheels Spider-Man.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was thrilled. Thank you, AMC, for correcting their mistake. At first, they denied us entry to the theater.
Yeah.
And we sat down right at the beginning. I mean,
Yeah,
it was like
that was good
That was
timing.
fucking crazy that we
That
got
was
in like
insane.
the exact
Yeah,
moment.
exact
Yeah,
moment that
fucking
the movie
intro
started. But
yeah. But that lady told me though, if somebody actually does come to take these seats, they'll deal with that and compensate them.
yeah. Okay,
So we
good.
were definitely. I knew we weren't moving after she told me that. So they were very nice about it.
Yeah, they did good. Thank you.
You were speaking about how like two of the characters were like I guess kind of involved with Spider-Man, but I feel like the two that I kind of think about that are like involved within like the story of this movie with Spider-Man. It's a weird way to get to what I'm saying, but like Jean Grey and Punisher are kind of like where Spider-Man can end up.
That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's actually a great point because I think you kind of do see that, and then you see how he becomes this force in the middle that kind of drags both of them more towards not reality, but just like a balance. It's like through his journey of balance, he also becomes like this hub of balance for others.
Yeah.
And I recently saw a quote from John Bernthal, like maybe a day or two ago, where he was like, for the future of Punisher in the MCU, I'd like to see him kind of just serving more instead of avenging and that type of stuff. And I think they accomplished that in this film. And I feel like his Punisher character's arc in this film like does kind of do that. And it is even reminiscent of like where Spider-Man ends up in this movie, is like they're all kind of just like serving this greater purpose of togetherness and not going through it alone. And
not true. I mean, Frank even said, opened up the door to friendship when he was in the hospital.
Yeah.
He used the word. I've never had a friend like that.
I know you're itching to jump to that scene, so
It's a good scene.
yeah, I absolutely adore it's like it does feel like a modern comic type of thing, but the idea of the Punisher accidentally shooting Spider-Man, which is from the comics, and just atoning for that sin essentially, and being overly
him shooting him from the comics, because I know that like in the comic where he like picks him up in Civil War,
different.
Like,
Yeah, that's Civil War.
there's a comic where Spider-Man's or the Punisher's trying to like shoot Cap's kneecaps out. Hold on. The Punisher is trying to shoot Captain America's kneecaps to like knock him out, basically, and Spider-Man jumps in the way to save Cap.
I think that's Ultimate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is something kind of sort of from the comics, and then like him dragging him into the hospital was the scene from Civil War. But I'm like losing my train of thought of what we were talking about.
Okay.
I really liked that whole sequence because it humanizes the Punisher a lot, and the idea that Peter gets to see how grateful the city is for his services as Spider-Man.
That made me tear
and
up.
like what Spider-Man means to people.
Yeah.
Like I feel like in the same way that the newest Superman movie is a love letter to Superman, this movie ends up being such a love letter to Spider-Man in a lot of ways.
Yeah. I do think this one was a lot just more like it just gave you more of that like charm and stuff, because I feel like something with Superman that I didn't really get was like his effect on other people, because like we saw like I guess a few heroes like decide to do shit, but like I feel like with this like we see like Ned like still trying to like help, I guess, you know.
Yeah,
and, like,
you've seen more of their part. They weren't doing it because they had to help their friend Spider-Man. They were still.
That scene was. It made me tear up. One, because of he's coming out and all the people, he sees all the signs. Spider means a lot to all of us.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Even
And then-
Zendaya just kind of saying, "Okay, I'll go with you."
Yeah.
Shows that they trust Spider-Man to
Yes.
be on the good side.
Yeah. And then the scene the kid was just a cherry on top.
Yeah.
And then of course Frank.
Yeah. They don't really hit you over the top of the head in this movie with like the classic quippy Marvel comedy shit.
Yeah.
This is just so like I don't know if Destin Daniel Cretton was like a part of the writing of this film.
I don't know.
But whoever is attached to the writing, or I don't even know if perhaps this is just like some improv stuff, but there's a lot of moments in this that are just like genuinely funny.
Yeah.
And just like well written comedy moments that blend seamlessly into the midst of what is a rather complicated Spider-Man story.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that scene with they're fighting the Hulk or trying to contain him, and Frank's like, "I'll go check on the other asset," and he's like, "You just want to get out from fighting.
You just don't want to fight
Even
the Hulk.
just
That could have been. That could have really been a moment.
Yeah, like
Not
when
in the
Frank
script,
fucking
you know?
shows up too, and it's just
Yeah.
like, like he kept like
But
someone,
even when he's dragging him with the out of the way with the thing, he's pop, 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 pop,
Did you see him
fucking
shooting him in
hilarious.
the ass?
Apparently it's the same writers as the previous three. So
Really?
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Even the scene where he takes the grenade launcher away from him, he's like picks up another
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
and launches.
And
Yeah.
just shoots it and blows it up in his hand and knocks him on his ass. Yep.
Every fight scene, every action scene that Spider-Man was in, even down to the bank robbers, and
Yeah.
they did it great. They
Yep.
did it the way Spider-Man should do it. He was able to
Yep.
web up people
Yeah.
while dodging this.
And with those little Spider-Man quips
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
There's
On
such
top of that-
creative uses of like the spider powers, I guess.
Yeah, the spider powers
And
just
webbing.
like more of a showcase to like the spider gadgets in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Being able to pop out his web shooter thing, cartridges, and
Yeah.
turn them into web bombs
Right.
is
Yeah.
incredibly interesting. Definitely get a vibe of like the Spider-Man video games that have been coming out lately. Like a little bit of that type of Spider-Maning going on. But yeah, I like it. It's just like a modern techie Spider-Man.
Perfect.
Not too techie where he's just Iron Man again.
Even the angles though that they were showing, like him like looking down at the alley and him actually like jumping over three
Yeah.
people to,
Yeah.
to web one guy behind. And
Yeah.
Loved all the shots of the web swinging. I loved going inside of the mask and stuff. I thought was
yeah.
awesome.
That was cool.
I know that they had Jackie Chan's fight choreography team attached to this, and
Yeah.
Wow.
just
Yeah.
knocked it out of the park.
That's all you
Really?
gotta say. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Serious.
And we got to see the actual Hulk.
Yeah.
That was
Yep.
so cool.
I
didn't know
you
you
got
can-
that big.
Yeah, it's definitely been a while.
That's the weird part, and I'm only getting technical. I love the movie 1,000%. Is obviously he can get hurt,
Yep.
right? You've seen the bruises on
Yeah.
his face from the batons or whatever. If the Hulk picks you up and smashes you into concrete,
Yeah.
I kind of don't think you'd be getting up.
You'd be like Loki.
And that has to affect you a lot more than a baton would or an
Is
electrical.
it different because it's Spider-Man?
Oh,
And then now the extra enhanced Spider-Man.
Well, he
e-
was a little
even
bit
the extra
slowed down
enhanced
during that,
Spider-Man,
wasn't he?
when he was holding him in his hand,
Yeah.
all he had to do was go like
Yeah.
that, and it's
Oh,
over.
Like that was so real. Like his hand
It
just
was
looked
so
so big
huge,
around his
right?
head. It was amazing.
Day 3000 of CGI is actually not getting worse.
Well, speaking on that, I did notice there was like a little few times where like the background just kind of looked disconnected.
Mm-hmm.
That's all right.
Speaking of that, I know you like the web swinging.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but it looked like he was wearing jammies sometimes, like
I
throughout the sequence.
just think it's the new suit.
It might
It's
be
so
it might be the new
fabricy
suit.
Yeah.
and like not nanotech, so it's not
Yeah.
as slick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of enjoy that though, because like he kind of is just like a dude wearing pajamas, flying around the city.
You're not wrong. Yeah.
The fight choreography, though, against the Hulk was friggin' awesome. The
Yeah.
in and out of the building, the way he webbed him to the
Yeah.
building, and
Awesome.
you know,
And just how that ties into like him once he's like, I guess, calming down a bit and not being as angry,
right?
to like him not being able to hold it. It's just so,
Well, I think he
Amazing.
also voluntarily
Yeah.
lets himself fall.
I guess.
He wanted to end it.
I feel like it was kind of like him weakening a bit.
Yeah, but
'Cause
then
I mean,
he
like,
had
he
that
kinda-
face.
he gets
gives
Yeah,
him a
he-
look.
angrier, he gets
Yeah, he
strong.
had that face like I'm letting it go.
I think
I'm
both.
done. Yeah.
So
But like,
my big question is that little chip or whatever
The
his-
inhibitor.
the inhibitor. What happened to him being able to control it? The in and out of the
it
Hulk.
was destroyed.
No,
So-
like remember how like in the Avengers he's like, yeah, Cap, I'm always angry, and they just turn.
Yeah.
Well, I think he just like,
Well,
he hasn't done it for years.
yeah.
you know?
So he had this inhibitor thing that after he became Smart Hulk,
Yeah.
like that's like how he was able to be the Smart Hulk.
Right.
Is that his inhibitor, and then I guess he could just not choose to be the Smart Hulk or Banner at any given time. And then Sadie Sink had his inhibitor thing destroyed,
Yeah.
so then he was just like the Hulk can come out whenever it wants. That it overtakes Banner easily, and then Peter couldn't get his little chip onto him because the Hulk's skin is
Skin's thick.
impenetrable.
I
Okay.
had a problem in the beginning in my head. I'm still enjoying the movie, but I know Jean Grey from the comics, and I know her power scale. And this is pre Professor X, Jean Grey. She was a lot more powerful than just being able to jump from body to body.
Yes.
You know, and I was kind of hoping that
Even
that-
like in the first X-Men comics, she's telepathically moving stuff with her
Right,
mind. I
right.
forget what they fucking call her.
I think it's-
Or some Omega level.
She's Omega for sure.
she is, yeah.
I forget what they fucking call her in one of the first X-Men books, but it's not like telepathic. It's like
Telekinetic.
telekinetic, and it's like, what the fuck does that even mean? but
But
yeah,
at the end, when she finally unloaded, man,
yeah.
That
I was like, yeah,
mean,
that's the Jean Grey everyone.
well,
can
she did the
crush-
Professor X
she could crush the little chip with her mind. Basically.
yeah.
in Logan when Professor X has this seizures and everyone's frozen, but like in stasis type of shit. Like we had that, which I
Yeah.
think is awesome
Yeah.
to introduce that. She's right on that level right away.
So she's they did her justice.
I heard
though.
you guys murmuring a bit when they showed her on the bus. What were you guys saying?
Oh,
She was going to.
She's going to Westchester.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was nice.
School for gifted children.
Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I don't know if she's immediately going there yet. I mean, she is, but I
Yeah. feel like it's gonna be like a rogue type thing.
But I'm sure like after some like exploding power like that, Xavier already has her.
Mhm.
Oh
in
yeah,
his-
she's
in his
on
mind.
Xavier's
Yeah.
radar, definitely.
What did you
Speaking
think of her
that,
having a
we'll
sister?
have to talk about that. The sister, I'm not familiar with that.
I don't know Sarah.
backstory. I thought that her origin was that her parents died in a car crash because she had like a seizure, and her powers had to do like started there.
I don't know. Again,
That might just be from the X-Men movies also, but my introduction to her comic-wise is like the first X-Men book. Something funny I saw is that the girl that's playing the older sister is 16 years old, and Sadie
funny.
Sink
Oh,
is
that's
24.
hilarious.
Yeah.
She has
Yeah.
a sister in the comics.
Okay,
Yep.
Wow.
Sarah Gray
interesting.
Has or had?
has.
Still does?
Supposedly.
Does it
Usual-
say when she was
Usually they
introduced?
do brothers and sisters or half sisters. They make one good and the other one evil.
First appeared X-Men 136.
Okay.
Oh, that was
Dark Phoenix Saga.
Of course, it's
Yeah, it's
defined.
a Dark Phoenix then.
Jean Grey's mutant powers awakened at age 10 through trauma when her best friend Annie Richardson was fatally struck by a car. As Annie died, Jean's latent telepathy connected to her friend's mind, forcing her to experience Annie's death firsthand and sending Jean into a severe catatonic state.
I was kind of right.
Yeah, I don't think they're doing that though.
No, well they didn't. They
Yeah.
had her sister. Isn't Cyclops' brother like the Havoc or some
Havoc,
shit?
yeah.
Dickhead.
yeah.
Well, speaking of, one of the like writers for this movie is Eric Summers.
Yeah, I saw that. so
And I
Yeah.
think Xavier's half brother is Juggernaut.
yeah,
Yes.
and Magneto's half brother is I don't fucking know.
Magneto's children.
Polaris, and it's like the least known one.
Well, like to me, it's cool. Spider-Man. I don't remember Spider-Man ever having a friendly relationship with any of the X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
He was kind of more with the Fantastic Four.
Yes.
So this is interesting to me that they now know each other. Where this can bring them.
There is actually a comic. It's actually Brand New Day, I think, or something, or like maybe
Isn't
like
he
a
friends
little
with
bit
Kitty
before.
Pryde?
Yeah, but
Didn't he date Kitty Pryde?
Yeah, he did.
so he goes like when he's getting his like weird new mutant powers, not mutant, just new powers. He goes to them to like that. He goes to the X-Men to see like what's going on with his
Right.
head, and it's just like he talks to them, and I forget if he talks to Jean Grey or Professor X, but like one of them looks in his mind.
Right.
So
Which is cool, but that's an established X-Men already. So this is pre.
yeah,
Yeah.
She's not
yeah,
even there
right.
yet. So it was like cool to me to see it, and it was cool to me to see. I mean, because Spidey's been around forever. Spidey's been around as long as
Yeah.
Fantastic Four and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
So he's had relationships with Avengers. He's had relationships with Fantastic Four. So now we know he knows Yelena, right? So he's in there. He knows Jean Grey, Punisher, which puts him in the Daredevil family
Yeah.
also, right?
It is also funny that he specifically knows the New Avengers because
Yeah.
his first time on the Avengers was New Avengers.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there's a micro and a macro way to look at this, and I'm kind of okay with both. Like, the micro is kind of what we're saying of, like, oh, it's cool that Spider-Man is just, like, friends with all these kind of new characters where we haven't really seen this type of stuff before, either in other adaptations or the comics or what have you. And then, like, the macro is, like, Marvel's like, okay, so Spider-Man's our biggest asset, and now we're just going to attach, like, our new young upstart team of X-Men to him. We're also going to attach like the Punisher to him and just attach as much properties as we can to the Spider-Man and just inflate everything.
Sure.
But I'm kind of fine with it because
The way they did it worked.
the new
Right, yeah.
young X-Men are going to be fun, and the new young Avengers are all young and fun and happy and
Hip and cool.
exactly.
I guess speaking about the macro, Apple Mac, I really liked Big Apple. I really liked the whole, I guess, just idea of this movie being that like you should have like friends and shit.
Mhm.
Like you shouldn't
Yeah,
be
you
you
can't
shouldn't be
do
like
it
the
alone. You
sacrifice.
You can't do it
Yeah.
alone.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that is like a very big criticism of the ending of No Way Home, where it's just like
He's got nobody.
you shouldn't just be like this, I guess.
I think
stoic
it's also
guy.
a thing about Spider-Man too is like everybody loves when Spider-Man's beaten down. He lost his girlfriend, he lost his aunt, he lost his uncle, he's poor, he's fucking getting his ass kicked. It's raining. Like everyone
Yeah.
like that's what makes Spider-Man for a lot of people. And to see him go through that in this movie and then come out the other side of it better for allowing relationships and stuff in his life, even knowing that these people can get hurt, is like kind of just the beauty of all of it, right? Is like the beauty of the character of Spider-Man, where it's like he's alone and he's beat up and everything, but like MJ always comes back, and he's always kind of just gonna continue being Spider-Man and having MJ and doing all that stuff. So I really loved that third act of this movie.
I like the fact that they gave us the pure Spider-Man again.
Mhm.
You know, he's not never thinking about himself.
Yeah.
He's always trying to protect everyone else, no matter what happens to him.
Even I think a great scene of that is when his mutation or evolved powers take over, and he accidentally almost kills the cop.
Yeah.
With a fight with Scorpion.
Yeah.
That
And then that reaction is great, just pure Spider-Man, like you were saying. We haven't even mentioned the Scorpion. He's not included as much as I thought he would be, but a great inclusion.
Great
Michael
cameo.
Mando back finally as the Scorpion, and
we had a little
very cool, very cool.
quick tombstone, I guess.
Yeah, I would have liked to see more of
Tarantula.
Tombstone, but
Tarantula,
that's it.
We had the
Boomerang.
boomerang.
Yeah.
Ramrod even
Yeah.
gets in there.
I feel like if they tried to like add any other like
It would have been too much.
concrete elements.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it sucks that we're probably still never gonna get that like truthfully grounded Spider-Man thing where him and the Punisher take down a crime syndicate.
What did
Maybe-
you think of him like single-handedly like taking down like so much crime on his own?
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I grew up on.
Mhm.
The friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He was everywhere, stopping everything.
I think like in his like fourth comic or something, he's like already stopping like the Vulture. So
Yeah.
It is a little bit funny though, like where's
Which-
Kingpin?
yeah.
Which,
Yeah.
now that we brought it up, kind of makes me wonder, where was he when Kingpin was
Well, that's what
running
he
this
just
thing?
said. Yeah,
Yeah.
Alternate universe.
exactly. Yeah,
617.
it's that other side of the Bronx that only exists
Yeah.
inside of a bubble. or whatever
But that's
called.
okay because I freaking love this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, this movie.
I did.
It like does the thing really well too, where I'm constantly saying like the MCU has this problem where none of it feels connected, but like it really does connect everything very nicely, and that's why I feel like I can let some of the Yelena things slide, and just
Right.
like I love the Punisher aspect of it, and even the Hulk, like going to see the Hulk and having the X-Men here too, like it makes the universe feel
Thank you.
connected.
Like
Yes.
we're all in the same place.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
One more thing on him being pure. I really love that like he told Zendaya, or he told MJ that he kissed her.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That
Mhm.
Yeah.
Just like such a necessary scene.
Yeah.
You know? And I don't know.
Yeah.
Just,
Perfect.
Yeah,
Ah,
I
She
love.
did him dirty, though. That was dirty. Jean
That
Grey,
was-
man,
yeah.
you did him
Yes,
dirty.
That kind of hurt.
But then that also helped him process and figure out he lied to me because she couldn't remember anything, and he said he remembered something.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Right.
that just worked right into that.
We didn't
Yes,
really
that
get
was-
a
that
full
was a
payoff on that. We didn't get a full payoff on that yet, and I wonder
No.
if we'll see Tramel Tillman back as
Oh, he's
William
definitely going to
Messenger.
be back.
So yeah, he played a lot of the same role that he played in the show we used to watch.
Severance. What's his
So-
name in that? Mr. something or other.
But
Milchek.
Milchek,
yeah, so he sort of played like that straight guy. This is your best friend, and
Yeah.
But
I
he's
really
he's
like all
about
the little
house.
ways he's like subtly manipulating him into like
Mhm.
you can like kind of tell in like the one scene in his office where
Yeah.
he's just like using like little fucking conversational tricks. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. What do we think about the whole VMAX thing? The build up to that.
Yeah,
twist?
I
that was
liked
pretty
that,
cool.
Yeah.
That Max.
Because like you would believe like perhaps that they have like what is VMAX? Is
Yeah,
it
the
this
secret
like
it's-
weapon
that's
or
exactly, and then it's just it's Ventmax.
It's
Or
the last
whatever.
thing
Yeah.
she saw.
Yeah.
The last thing she saw, probably.
Yeah, just a lot of great little twists in the
But
story.
it shows you how powerful she got because she
Yeah.
was able to get to her out of the 33 feet.
Mhm.
Yeah.
True. Telepathically sent a message. Yeah.
Yeah. When Spidey got shot, I didn't know what they were gonna do. I thought there was a chance that this would just be
the
it
end of
Same.
Spider-Man.
for
Honestly,
Tom
same.
Holland Spider-Man.
They're not fucking switching Spider-Man out for Secret Wars.
Yeah, not yet. I think that there probably is some kind of path towards Miles Morales at some point
Mm-hmm.
that unfortunately may
I mean,
not.
they've said it.
Yeah,
a
I
few
just
times,
I just don't think it'll include Tom Holland, unfortunately. It seems like they're teasing that this is possibly finite at some point for him.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Yeah.
whether he dies or he gives up the mantle or whatever they do with it, I don't know. It's an interesting thing to think about, and it definitely got the wheels turning in my head
Yeah.
because he was probably going to die there if Jean Grey didn't
Oh yeah.
save him, essentially.
Oh, sure.
I also kind of wish there's a thing where it's just like Jean Grey is the reason that nobody knows his identity. Because like even with like if Punisher's like fucking pretending to be Spider-Man, like if a
Oh,
fucking
yeah,
injured guy like leaves a hospital that Spider-Man is known to be staying at,
There
there's gonna be like one fucking guy in a camera. Or
But there
something.
was a
Yeah.
big gap between her staying over him, and then the next scene was Punisher carrying him
Yeah.
into the hospital. So what happened in between?
Yeah.
I could care less. It still played off really well to me. Like I said, everything was done perfectly. I laughed. I enjoyed all the action scenes, and I cried like a 10-year-old little girl on some scenes.
Yeah, honestly, I'm surprised he didn't die there because I'm pretty sure Castle was using like a 50 cal, and those bullets are big.
Yeah.
Make a big hole in you.
Just to go back to that scene, the Punisher sitting outside the hospital room and everything is just great. Like, because that, like, understands his character. Like, this movie understands his characters so much better than, like, even, I think, fucking John Bernthal does, apparently.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's just the idea of the Punisher accidentally hurting Spider-Man, who he knows is just, like, such a pure hero and, like, not at all his target.
He didn't have a problem running him over.
Yeah.
In
You
the
ran
beginning,
me
it was
over,
like,
Frank.
no.
Yeah. I think it also shows Frank that his way is not always the answer. And, yeah, just his atonement for
It's
injuring,
all good.
hurting someone that's innocent, essentially.
all good.
And he even got to sort of like Jean Grey.
Kind of, sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all good.
Because how did he put it? He was like, "Yeah, she's all right."
The scene where the possessed Frank and Jean walk into that vault,
Oh my God,
there was a clip or a picture of that leaked forever ago that everyone thought was AI. That did not turn out to be AI.
Right.
That was very real.
Is that my gun?
Yeah, just so many great comedy moments.
Oh, yeah.
It's funny that he's kind of the comic relief in this film, but it works.
Yeah, absolutely. And him and Zendaya, just the way they were talking to each other, I could understand why you like her. She's like just giving it back to him, and it was a very comfortable conversation. And I like that. You need that in a movie to keep you attached to the characters.
Yeah.
I guess if we're talking about chemistry, and a lot of these people didn't, this trio necessarily didn't share scenes together, but this is the fucking cast of the Odyssey. Half the cast of the Odyssey is in this movie.
Funny.
One more thing. I feel like MJ should know who Punisher is and like his backstory, because like that's the whole plot of season 2 is like people learning that he has like kids and shit, and that's his backstory.
Yeah.
So like I feel like she would know.
It's
Also,
I don't know,
just
I
like
guess
being interested.
She's
in
been away
Spider-Man,
at college for 4 years, though.
I guess.
small potato stuff.
And he has been around for like what 10, 15 years at this point.
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
I still love her. I still love the way she talks to anybody. Her and Kate Bishop together. I mean, she's my thing.
You're talking about
And
Yelena?
Black Widow. Yeah.
yeah.
And that's the other thing that now is popping up. People are upset that they're calling her Black Widow because. But you
The
know
other
what?
one's dead.
Everyone that graduates from the
that-
Red
the
Room
Red Room
is a
is a
Black
Black
Widow. They
Widow.
literally
Yeah.
had Black Widows going after Black Widow.
I do feel like her character is much more like rejecting it though.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
True. Yeah, true.
So one thing I was wishing for more payoff was MJ's boyfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was like,
Like
that
that was
one
just
shot.
a loose end.
I guess she just is done with him.
Well, maybe I don't know, because like the whole "I don't love you" thing. But then then they talk shit like that.
I mean, I think they're setting up that she definitely still cares.
Yeah,
but-
I don't know. It's just weird that
Yeah.
he was kind of a nothing character.
Yeah.
With
I'm
all
sure
that.
she
especially
wouldn't-
with Peter.
She
be
wouldn't
careful.
mind restarting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he's like a relatively not big actor, but like big enough to be like a character.
Yeah.
He played like Ezra in the Star Wars show. He's like a very highly
Yeah,
touted.
he that's
actor.
where he's from. He
Yeah.
looked so familiar when
Yeah.
he came in.
Withholding.
Withholding guy.
Yeah.
One other thing I was thinking with the identity is like, does Metzger just know who Peter is now? Because like he saw his face,
Yeah.
like he would definitely have the means to like figure it out from that.
Yeah.
Unless
Yeah.
Gene wiped his.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm
She can do that though. Wipe that memory.
certainly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like that's such like an easy way to do it.
I
don't
just
know
like
why they wouldn't
the
just
glass
have
is
it.
there. And it just slowly gets closer.
Yeah.
Remind me of the Doctor Strange and that alien guy. With
Oh,
the,
yeah.
So there was one point when he said, "I have to go see somebody." When it was all that, I thought he was going to go see Doctor Strange.
Right. That's who I thought it
Well,
was.
that's when he went to go see
Yelena.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to see Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
But then he opened up into the room with it was like Asian woman in the front.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I said, oh, maybe this is like Yao or something. Maybe he's going to see Yao. Right? It's Yao?
Who the fuck
Is
is Yao?
Madam Yao.
Isn't Yao?
Daredevil?
At that point,
Madam Yao? Is that her name?
Still
From Daredevil, you
yeah,
mean?
Madam Yao is
Yeah.
the hand.
Yeah, the hand.
The
That's
lady
what I
with the
thought.
hand.
Yeah, thank you.
At that
Didn't
point,
you
I
say
was
she
still
died?
saying maybe Strange.
I think she did, but maybe she didn't really. I
I
don't
mean-
know.
Oh, I figured Doctor Strange was just
Yeah.
hiding his
Madam Gao.
Gal.
Oh, Gao. I
Yeah.
knew it was something like that. Yeah, Gao. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I still thought he was walking into Strange's house, but he had just disguised it as something else for
Well, also,
whatever
like,
reason.
Yeah.
Doctor Strange has 3 eyes and he's in a portal to fuck.
Yeah.
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 Forever.
Yeah.
Currently honeymooning with his wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the inclusion of the hand in this one is interesting. Spider-Man single-handedly took down the hand, and then they were
Imagine.
converted to security guards.
Imagine.
It is weird how like straightforward that is.
Yeah, and there's only 5 of them.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean there was a lot more once he started fighting them.
Yeah,
again,
because
but,
there was
like,
actually more showing up in that cell.
Yeah.
like I don't know.
I mean, to me, that was an automatic red flag.
Like it just there has to be something
Any
like
government agency that all of a sudden says, "Oh, what? They were so bad, but when they're working for us, they're good." you
Yeah.
know?
like I feel like there has to be. I don't even know where we would see this, but like where it's just like, oh, of course they're just like fucking trying to get inside, you know,
Yeah.
infiltrate.
Yeah.
Peter letting Jean into his head. So
That
that
was- that was
scene.
my
That was
favorite.
cool.
That was my favorite.
That
scene.
was. That's the part that made me cry like a little girl.
Yeah, I
of course.
bawled my eyes.
I
out
really liked the whole framing, and I love the
Mhm.
idea, but something about it just didn't really click with me. I feel like it's just because like they definitely wrote it to be very vague so that it could work for both.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, it just doesn't.
Do you remember that scene at all from a Spider-Man movie, or was that just?
I
a
think
new
it's
scene?
just for this.
It was just for this.
Yeah.
There was something
Although-
similar to that,
Yeah.
though. Where she definitely had like that conversation with him.
Yeah.
I thought so too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like he had just come back from something, and he was upset about something, and she sat
I
with
don't
him.
think like that specific
But I don't think it's
scene
specific.
Right.
was in anything. I think
Mhm.
that it was like shot at that time though and repurposed for
Mm.
this.
Really?
Because he definitely looks younger in the scene.
I thought
and
he
then
did too,
he
yeah.
looks so much older when he comes back into the scene
Mhm.
from the other side.
Yeah.
But I also love the fact that he's there, and all of a sudden it transitions to Jean being there,
Yeah.
and she needed to hear that,
That killed
from
me.
from a mother.
Yeah.
She wanted a mother that would
Yeah.
yeah.
talk to her like that, not a mother that would send her away.
Which
because-
also, this is the one I miss and lost.
Yeah.
So there are people out there that you have to
Yeah.
protect.
Like
Yeah.
I really love the idea that like they are having the same struggles.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And then it
Yeah.
transitioning to both of them sitting on that bed, and
Yeah, I mean,
They
Aunt May
basically
was
say-
everything to him.
But I just thought
Yeah.
it was just too vague.
Yeah,
that
I do
scene.
agree with you. It doesn't bother me so much, but it did take me out of it a little bit. Just like kind of recognizing, and not the trope of it, but just like recognizing kind of what you're saying, that it's like we just had to like fit Jean
But I feel
into
like
this.
you kind of could. Someone just fall.
No.
I feel like you could kind of just like have it be like more specific and just like I don't know, like talking about her specific issues.
They never really explained why she couldn't really get into him.
Mm-hmm.
I
I feel like it's just kind of just that spider sense shit.
Yeah.
Because we even saw like in No Way Home, just him, the Doctor Strange trying to reach
Mhm.
or whatever.
Yeah, but there's got to be a real actual reason. She can get into anybody. She can get
Yeah.
into other superhero, the Hulk. She can get into people that are enhanced.
Well,
Even
she was starting to have trouble with Hulk.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Like I
did
feel like
notice
that's
that.
why the actual Hulk kind of
even
came out.
Professor X.
They've gone back.
they've
and
gone
forth.
back and forth.
I thought they
Yeah.
have. I
Yeah.
thought they have. Yeah.
Don't
Well, that's
forget
kinda like
his,
a let
his
in
idea
thing.
was his thing was to train her to control her.
He
power.
has trouble
So,
stopping her when she becomes the Phoenix.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Phoenix is
different.
One more thing I want to say
version.
before I forget, but like I didn't really like that her sister just like made her walk like fucking 10 yards away, and that's like if she screamed Sarah at her,
Mm-hmm.
so like I feel like she would be looked at least, you
Mhm.
know.
Yeah.
Also, like, wasn't there a moment where he fucking Punisher said kilometer? That was a bit weird.
Oh,
I don't know.
Like he said like a 1 kilometer like range from the island. you
yeah.
know?
They usually say clicks, right?
Yeah.
Well, even just like like why is he
Kilometers,
saying kilometer instead of fucking mile? or
I
something?
did not catch it.
Well, he's a
any which
military
way.
guy.
I guess. Do they say? No.
They use clicks. 10 clicks out, 5 clicks out.
You do have to give Marissa Tomei props, though.
Oh,
A
yeah.
woman who
I
gets
love
more
her.
beautiful as she gets older.
Like
2
I
minutes
said,
in.
I'm pretty sure that was
Mommy.
filmed 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But still.
2 minutes in the movie, that's it. I'm hooked. But that was the scene that actually made me cry the most because I felt bad for Sadie Sink,
Mhm.
right, Jean Grey,
And for Peter.
because and then she realized what he lost.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
She really knocked it out of the park in this movie for me.
Yeah,
I honestly was more emotionally attached to the aftermath of that stuff than I
Mhm.
was like actually Sadie experiencing Peter's mind. Like, yes, it was emotional and I like what they're doing there, but I feel like the aftermath of him being shot and then
Oh, yeah.
what it means to the Punisher and what it means to like all of these adoring people and just like him being able to experience that,
Mm-hmm.
that made me more emotional than
Yeah.
the memory itself.
No, agreed. I got that. I liked when Sadie went into the Punisher. I was like, this guy's
Oh,
fucked
that
up.
was hilarious.
Yeah.
I
What'd
saw
she
it
say? This
for a
guy's
moment.
got problems.
Yeah,
or
yeah,
what?
this guy's
guy.
For a moment, I thought she was like reacting to like what was in that room, just like the weird fucking mutant people in like jars and shit.
Yeah, that's what
Well,
was.
yeah,
Yeah,
you start to kind of get this idea that had she not gone into Frank's mind, Frank would have been like, they're doing some fucked up shit here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the music, the score.
Yeah,
Yeah,
score.
score.
and
There's like a
then-
bit
Yep.
of score where it's like just like so the Odyssey had like a lot of like weird like harp type music. Like there was just like that throughout this, and it's
Yeah.
very reminiscent of that.
Yeah, for as much as I loved the score, I also loved the decision to leave the conversation between Peter and MJ on the boat when she finds the letter just completely barren of anything but their
Yeah.
voices.
Yeah.
I thought that was really impactful. But yeah, like you said, the score on this one is just great. Really great picks for actual soundtrack, and then just like the backing scoring is great as well.
That scene where Spider-Man was holding who he thought was actually
Yeah.
MJ, but it was really Sadie Sink, Jean Grey in control. When she was falling and she was Jean Grey, and then when Jean left and
Yeah.
it became MJ, like that change in her face on her way, I was like, oh shit,
Yeah.
you know?
I even like when they did it with Punisher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. The other thing that I got real tense when I seen her drop. I'm like, oh, is she gonna snap her neck here? Oh no.
Yeah, right. That's
Yeah.
what we were-
That's the only thing I kept thinking about.
I feel like they kind of played at that a little bit too much because like they did it with one guard like earlier in the movie too. You know.
I love you, Spidey.
Yeah, just like great comedy moments that just like aren't.
Yeah.
You just heard that. He's right behind me, isn't he? Like type of shit. It's just like nicely written, funny comedy. It's just like we haven't necessarily said it specifically yet, but just the idea of John Bernthal kind of leaning into all of it and just like being like, it's fucking hilarious.
That was hilarious.
It's just like
That was
doing that
hilarious. Yeah.
and while like being Spider-Man. It's so fucking funny.
So, where did he get all that tech from? Is
Punisher
that
or
leftovers Peter?
What? The,
That's some serious
Yeah,
tech.
like
No,
he had
it
one
is.
thing that could
Yes.
fucking 3D print circuits.
That's
like-
Yeah.
gotta be
is that
Stark.
is that still Stark's goggles?
the voice thing is Stark.
Yeah.
I don't, is it? No, I
That
think,
came with one of the
I think
suits,
that's one of
thought.
his new ones. He's
Is it?
had his own from Stark, but I think this one he made himself.
Because that's pretty high
What is
tech.
the name of the voice thing?
That's
he's
like
talking
having
to?
Jarvis
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
with
yeah.
you.
I mean, like
you know.
nowadays, like I fucking have my own, just because fucking AI's gone that advanced.
You
but
have
like,
Jarvis?
kind of.
Can you help me set it up?
Hey,
I don't have one that I fucking speak to, but you have it already.
I know.
Claude.
because that was cool,
Um,
really handy. I love that helicopter scene.
Yeah.
It's like, so what do you do now?
Yeah.
There's nobody around you.
Yeah, I guess where once it like starts like being able to tap into like cameras, that's a little bit crazy. But
Yeah, that's why I was also saying like this Spider-Man in this movie feels a bit like the PlayStation video game Spider-Man, because like that one is very techy as well, and like has just such like crazy traversal maneuvers and shit. Like this one, I don't dislike it though.
No, I don't
I'd
either.
have to say though that the like one manufacturing printing thing that he had was probably the same one we saw in No Way Home that he used to like make all
Oh,
the
yeah,
little
yeah.
fixes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just fucking crazy. Kind of just like how is he affording any of this?
Mm-hmm.
where
Yeah,
he's
because we go
living?
back to Ironheart, right?
Yeah.
He just couldn't afford
Yeah.
the
We
tech.
never see him have a job.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's a little bit weird.
Yeah, so where is he? I know, but and this is all just little
But I mean that-
stuff. But
I don't know.
I feel like it is kind of important though.
Yeah, like
Like
even just a hint that he's taking photos. or something. Like that is crazy. I just realized that we don't see him have.
it's like
good
kind
job
of
at
just
all.
like the one thing where it's like in any other circumstance and character, it's like it kind of doesn't matter. But like for Spider-Man specifically, it's like
He needs that struggle.
yeah, it's like he just isn't necessarily like he's struggling because he isn't really though. Like yes, he's in this kind of shitty apartment upper floor thing,
right,
but like he's essentially just
hiding out.
squatting up there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Seemingly.
Yeah. I mean, he built a friggin' inhibitor
Yeah.
that you could
Yeah.
attach to
Yeah.
anyone.
I always love the shit where he's just like so much smarter than like everyone
right.
else.
Than
He's just like the
things, right.
circumstances.
But
yeah.
I'm saying,
You know, even Doc
that thing
Banner
you
was
can
like,
attach
yeah,
to-
"Who are you?"
you can attach that
Yeah.
thing to a villain or
Yeah.
a superhero.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's like
Fucking
the mutant-
Spider-Man Oppenheimer
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Yeah.
I really hope I really hope that it's not something where like he's the source of fucking inhibitor tech. And I guess like we already see that.
Well, he
He-
wouldn't necessarily be if you
Like, we see that-
Hulk.
Yeah, I feel like we have seen it before.
And also like I hope that they made a point in showing Jean destroying it
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
where
Right.
it's like fucking damage control is not going to get their hands on it. And
So the one that came off of Peter in the fight scene, where's that? Is it
You're
still
right.
on the floor in there? Did he wreck it?
That's a good point. I feel like he just like took it off. Did he throw it?
I don't know what he did with it.
I don't know.
He could have just.
Don't got
I thought he
pockets on that
discarded
I
it.
don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
remember.
don't think he destroyed it.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I
Yeah.
just remember him pulling it
Yeah.
back, and then we just seen his eyes getting.
Yeah.
Yeah, fucking legitimate. Just like like I would hate to have like a Spider-Man Oppenheimer moment where it's just like you've created this tech that will forever fucking change everything.
But like
Yeah.
we have seen it like even just earlier.
yeah, even like
and shit. But like
X-Men.
they did kind of make a point where like this one is stronger, I guess.
Yeah.
Or
They
just
could
like
weaponize
universal,
it.
you know?
As you get the
Yeah.
tech, you can weaponize it. But again, that's for future stories.
Yeah.
This one rolled
Yeah,
along.
I mean, like overall, I think this is just like it's definitely not like a grounded Spider-Man story, but it's just like a really good and in a good way complicated Spider-Man story that has like other things interwoven into it. I'd say for like 90% of it, it's just like a great Spider-Man story, and then like the other 10% is like, yeah, we still have to like set up the next fucking 15 years of Marvel. So
Well,
yeah, I mean, overall, I really enjoyed it.
If
Yes.
someone if someone would have said you're going to see the Punisher, the Hulk, Jean Grey in the same movie, I would have been like, oh, it's going to be crap.
Yeah.
They put it together super well.
Yeah, I mean, this is as far as like recent superhero movies that I thought were really great. Like, I'd say this is up there with like this, Fantastic Four, and Superman for me.
This is definitely the best out of all.
This,
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is pretty
Mhm.
good.
Like I don't know. I feel like I didn't even really like Fantastic Four that much.
Really?
Yeah. Anyways.
This was, for me, better than Brand New Day.
Mm-hmm.
Not
The,
Brand New
No Way Home.
No Way Home.
No Way Home. Except for there are iconic scenes.
Yeah,
in
I feel like
that
No Way
element.
Home
Yeah.
story is just
With-
like kind of meanders and just like nonsensical a bit. You know?
Right.
And it also
story-wise.
is carried by
But
the
the
other
scene
stuff.
when
Yeah.
they come through,
Like it's
Yeah.
that's like
Yeah.
that'll live in my memory forever.
Mhm.
And the videos of the audience reaction
Yeah.
to seeing
Yeah.
but this has to be my favorite movie is still Guardians of the Galaxy
Mm-hmm.
volume 1.
Yeah.
Only because it surprised me so much
Yeah.
on how entertaining and how good it was.
Mhm.
This movie is right up there with that, maybe my number 2 movie.
Yeah.
Very
I
good.
I
enjoyed
feel like
this
it's so
that much.
funny how it's like they try to do this huge thing of like the Cameo Fest thing where it's like the multiverse is the ultimate cameo thing. And it's like all that shit ends up kind of sucking, and then like you just do like the cameos in this one where it's like they all just work so well
Mhm.
and are like actually a part of the story. It's
Yeah,
just
exactly.
so
That's the
much
big
fucking
part.
better than anything
Yeah.
like even No Way Home, honestly. Like I love No Way Home, and I'm not
Mhm.
gonna retrospectively be like, oh, No Way Home is shit.
Right.
Because the story is kind of not convoluted, but just like simple and meandering, like you kind of mentioned.
Mhm.
But like I think No Way Home is also good because it's carried by its cameos
Right.
in a way that like just makes it fun and entertaining.
Right.
Yep.
Correct.
Whereas in this movie, the cameos are so seamlessly woven into the fabric of the story
Mhm.
that they're like on opposite ends of a spectrum for why they work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything else before we get into favorites, least favorites, and rating?
I don't kind of think.
No.
All right,
Least favorite.
least favorite scene for me, probably the initial meeting between Yelena and Peter. If I had to pick maybe a second thing, the Hulk stuff kinda is a little messy, although not enough where I wouldn't
Why do you think it's
enjoy it
messy?
too much. Say that again.
Why do you think it's messy? Shaka.
What?
Shaka.
I just think it's like there's almost like no purpose for him being there a little bit at times. He kind of just comes and goes in the story a little bit,
I guess.
and
It does
just
feel
like-
like something where like he could have just figured it out himself.
Yeah.
Almost. And they just wanted Hulk in the movie.
Yeah.
And wanted a way to introduce him.
I don't hate it though.
Yeah. I do think it worked. But
Yeah.
I guess my least favorite is just when the damage control takes the sister.
Mhm.
It just felt weak to me.
I think my least favorite is the intro sequence of him swinging around the city. Again, something off with that. Looked like jammies.
I didn't hate the montage though. Of
The
like
montage was great. It's
kind of
just
keeping up with Spidey.
Yeah.
My least favorite scene, which just annoyed the hell out of me, was when he walked into the building
Yeah.
and they made him go through the metal detector, and
Yeah.
then they tell him take his mask off,
Mhm.
and I'm like,
That's-
you kind of should have known better.
That
you know.
scene in itself is just how even they play with you with the little things that they drop before the movies, the
Yeah.
trailers.
Mhm.
Right.
Because off from that, I thought they were in a banner lab or something,
Right.
going through to find out his DNA and all that stuff, to find out it's some security system at the place there.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
You
Like
know?
they dropped the whole like fight with the Hulk. No,
I saw that they had like a
Well,
majority. of
Sony does everything, I guess. But like the one that I thought was crazy because of just how much we already saw in the trailer, the hand.
The hand.
that.
Like,
Yeah, I
we
didn't
saw-
watch any of that shit. Sony's fucking ridiculous with that
Yeah.
stuff.
Like there's a whole like 10-minute scene or something
Yeah.
they in No Way Home, but like with the whole like tornado.
Yeah.
Oh, it's crazy.
So
Yeah, right.
my least favorite scene is when they're in the boat and he's putting the tech together behind the curtain and all that. I don't know, just figuring everything out so fast. He's it's overheating and this and that. And
That
just,
reminded me, one thing I
So-
wanted to mention is I'm all for empowering of like women and female characters and all this, but just like the idea that MJ is like on the level of Peter, where it's like, oh, I was going to study biochemical engineering and
Yeah.
all this. It's just like, where the fuck did that come from?
before I switch to aerospace, which may be something that comes in later on now that she's in aerospace.
Green gun.
I
Glider.
guess maybe it's just like,
Yeah, who
sure,
knows?
I guess MJ's also just the smartest fucking person on the planet.
Yeah, and
you know.
figured out this whole thing that
Yeah,
he's been
it's
building.
like
and
you have a fucking magnetic field.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Yeah, what I thought was weirder though was when the ones that were burning out, where did he have them?
On the back of his neck.
yeah.
And where did he put the new one?
Well, he I guess
Yeah.
accounted for the magnetic field in
From
the
his
eye, in the
goggles?
goggles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was like, it was too
He
close.
made some
right?
kind of
You know?
adjustment.
It is also weird they never talk about like what if there's somebody who uses a magnetic field.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's my main issue is just
I feel like there's just a lot of like science techno fucking jargon. that's just, like,
exactly, yeah.
nonsense,
There
you know?
is like a good. By the end of this film, it's kind of like you're carrying a handful of fucking just techno jibble jabble that makes no sense to anything, and like everyone's just the smartest fucking person on earth.
Yeah.
So
Thank God.
yeah.
So that was the least favorite.
Yeah. That was my least.
Yeah.
My favorites?
Favorites hard to pick because there's just so many funny little moments,
Mhm.
like honorable mentions. I love the idea of like Peter being like, "You don't have the stuff I need." He's like,
Yeah,
and then just like
I got all
Every
that stuff.
Punisher
all that
moment,
shit.
really. Like,
yeah, if John Bernthal in this movie is so self-aware as the Punisher and John Bernthal in a lot of ways that like you would never see in the show
Right.
or in the special that he was a part of.
Yeah.
And I just absolutely loved it because like he's playing into the Punisher as a comic relief character and also just like being self-aware about the discourse about John Bernthal Punisher online, like fucking going and like that's we joke about that.
And then again, constantly screaming while shooting the Hulk.
Yeah. So just wanted to honorable mention say that, but
holy shit!
yeah.
That was my favorite. Oh shit!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just had to bring that up.
I really
Um,
liked her Jean Grey powering up.
Yeah.
That's my
Yeah,
favorite.
that was
Yes.
cool.
Yeah, I did like that a lot. My favorite scene, though, I would probably say is the moment when Peter wakes up and his interaction with Frank and Frank apologizing and also just the reception to Spider-Man
Yeah.
was just
Yeah, that's a
beautifully
good one.
done.
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
one.
That was awesome.
It's hard to pick a favorite, but I really enjoyed the scenes when they were fighting the Hulk. And the entire scene. First, it was just Spider-Man and the regular small Hulk. And then when the Hulk got bigger and the whole bit, I really enjoyed that whole thing.
I don't have a favorite.
Yeah, it's
like I
hard.
said, every scene that he was webbing people flying through the city and
Yeah.
was cool. The fight with the Hulk, like you said, they finally gave us a Hulk I can appreciate. I think my favorite parts of the movie are just the rapport between the characters. They got that so right.
Yeah.
They kept the characters as the characters. The writing was incredible. Yeah, that was spot on. The little levity, the sad moments, they did well.
Yeah. Ratings for Spider-Man Brand New Day. I'll go first. I'm at a 9 to a 10 on Spider-Man Brand New Day.
I go 8.5.
Yeah, I was 9 myself.
Yeah, 9.5 for me.
9.5, almost a perfect.
Yeah.
And I think I gave Guardians of the Galaxy way up there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
go see the movie.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah. I guess if you look back at Marvel's like last kind of run of movies, they've kind of been pumping out some good stuff.
Yeah.
Fantastic Four, Thunderbolts was like a little underwhelming, but still pretty good and took risks. And then this one,
Let's hope it's
that's
something
why I
good
have
the
hope for
future.
Doomsday.
Yeah.
I mean, like I know TV's kind of sucked, but I thought their recent track record of movies has been pretty good.
Not too
We'll
bad.
see.
Yeah.
We will see.
Fingers crossed.
Yes. All right. So that was our thoughts on Spider-Man Brand New Day. Go check this one out if you're a Spider-Man fan. I can't imagine that you would abandon seeing this, but yeah, it was really good. Next up, we got Invincible stuff we're going to talk about, right?
Mhm.
More episodes
Season
of Invincible.
two,
Get
first
into
half.
season
Season
2.
2.
The best
through 4.
season.
Okay. We will see you back on the Cape Critiquers podcast for Invincible. And that's about it for now. Bye.
I should have said 8:30 on a Sunday morning, and
Yeah.
the theater was packed.